Post-pandemic, I'd love to know if you both think the labour market is structurally changed, and if so, how leaders need to adapt to the new landscape.
One thing we saw, it was not a healthcare crisis, of course, but it was a labor market crisis as well. So compared to other big crises that hit the world economy, this was very specific to impacting how people worked, how long they worked, and importantly, actually their health. And the other space which COVID has accelerated is the digitalization of the labor market. And so any regulation related to AI and digital also has picked up exponentially.
But hybrid, still 4 in 10 job postings out there just in the UK are hybrid. So it is very clear that what's the purpose of my job? What's the value that I'm trying to drive? Does the organisation that I work with align with my values? And I think in different ways we will continue to see those 3 different dynamics manifest over the long term. I think we've seen some rebalancing of power towards the employer over the past couple of certainly the last 12, 18 months, but it still remains very tight labour market in most of our big economies here in the UK, in the US, even across the continent. We're at historic unemployment lows. So there is still that need for employers to really think about what is it that are the priorities for prospective candidates or my employees.
Complexity for me is definitely the one big new reality for leaders out there.
I think it's a great point about just, again, that span of generations that are convening in the workplace. And one of the areas that Bettina will know well, there's a real focus by policymakers is how do we get some of the older workers back into the workforce, right? When we saw some more and more exit throughout COVID. And again, what flexibility means to that older generation versus that younger generation is a very different thing. And you could be a leader who has a team that spans, very young, early in career workers right through to some of those older workers, and trying to manage a dynamic that conduces to an inclusive and sufficiently flexible environment for everybody is a challenge. I think we're getting there, but I think we have a long way to go, right? And again, we see that on our own platform, in our own data, that this focus on skills is really starting to surge. So in the last 12 months alone, we are now at a spot where almost half of recruiters who go onto LinkedIn to find talent are searching for that talent through the prism of skills. Now, you can be sure that that's driven in part by the fact that the hiring manager and hopefully the overall organisation is starting to look at their talent needs through the prism of skills. But that's quite new, right? And this language of skills and understanding exactly how do I do an audit of the skills my organisation has, the skills it's going to need over the long term as we face into these challenges, what's the gap? And then how do I either upskill my existing employees or go out to the market and recruit in these skills? That is a new way of approaching talent, of investing in talent, of fostering talent, of hiring talent.
The key for that is the skills taxonomy.
Yes.
Is the definition, right? And that is the space we're still working on, and that's where we're working on the government level as well. There's a comparability, of course, within the economy, but then also as you start moving and also transitioning from one industry to the other. And that's where the journey still is at right now. But where we have landed for sure is the mindset and just the realization that that is the way to go. But that's something we still need to work on. And then obviously definitions today are known when it comes to the technical skills, back to your point. So that is easier, but it's those soft skills, right? It's the behavioral skills that we're looking to just better define.
When we look ahead to 2030, particularly with the accelerant that will be AI, we're looking at a 65% change in those skill sets, right? So for that organization who's thinking out to 2030, you have to plan on the basis that those jobs, even if they're called the same thing and have the same title, they are going to require different skills. So how do you get your people ready for that? It's exactly that, right? Focusing in on the skills, making sure that you're getting them prepared. That's exactly what organizations need to be doing to make sure that their organization is going to be able to tap into those skills pools to make sure that they're going to have the capabilities they need. And also for workers, really, when you think about just how much our own jobs are going to change and everybody else's job is going to change, really adapting that mindset of how do I make sure that I'm continually investing in myself, upskilling myself so that I'm keeping a pace with these changes that are coming. Because even if your job isn't changing, your job is changing on you. Yeah.
I'm absolutely thrilled to watch the entire innovation and creativity in the HR space. We have an incredible amount of startups, of tech innovators that are coming in, and I think that is needed, right? The disruption is happening as we speak, and I'm all for it, but I'm insisting that it needs to be done the right way, and that's where the responsible AI piece comes in. We need to put those guardrails in, at least, or starting with also the mindset of how you approach Gen AI. And you need to be absolutely clear that that risk element which is there and which is driving regulators to actually wanting to stop the use of Gen AI in HR. I mean, that is happening right now. It's a political reality. That is the way that they think you need to deal with it. So because there is a potential for harm, again, it is there, we need to be even more militant about doing it the right way, the responsible way, the ethical way, the human-centric way.